Okay, we're live, so just wait just a moment so that we see the numbers go up on the viewers, so we know that we have some people watching. And thank you, Aura, for being with us today, and for anyone who's hopping on. This is Stand Up Fight Back, but we will be starting in just a moment. Just checking to make sure everything is good here. It's like okay, we got some viewers now. Oh, there we go. Okay, good.
There you go.
Awesome. So let's get started. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning and this Sunday morning here. You're watching our weekly Sunday morning show, Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. We simulcast on Facebook and YouTube, so please share us with your friends, your neighbors, your mechanic, and please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. I'm Margot Paez. I'm a scientist, engineer, and occasional journalist. And over here somewhere to one side of me is Carlos, my co-host, the amazing grassroots organizer. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Aura Vasquez. She is a Colombian-born immigrant, community leader, and renewable energy advisor. She strives to amplify the voices of people who have been historically unheard. She started her career in Congressman Elliot Engel's office and since has led California communities in a number of bipartisan victories. She has been instrumental in campaigns around immigrant rights, affordable housing, and climate change in Southern California. Currently, Aura is the chair of the Los Angeles Climate Action Committee at the Sierra Club, and she just told me also at DSA, at the LA chapter of DSA. That's the Democratic Socialists of America. And there's so much more to tell about Aura, Carlos. She's just got quite a biography here. So maybe, Carlos, would you like to give us a little bit more background on this very special person that we have here today?
Wow, I mean, there's so much we can say about our beautiful Aura. We love her so much here in Southern California and all the work that she has done over the years. You're right, Margaret. She has quite an intensive and huge, background. And look, she's a person that you want on your side. She's someone that is smart, charismatic, well-spoken, and she has the pulse of what's going on in our communities, which is very, very important. This is how I know. This is how I met Aura. Is literally out there on the streets, as we are organizing and mobilizing our communities. She's one of those people that you will run into when that happens. And it has been a pleasure just knowing her from days back in the Occupies all the way here, and just her what she brings to the table is so important nowadays, because there's many community leaders out there that have so much to give, and they are giving so much to their communities, and often people don't know about them because they work behind the scenes, they do a lot of stuff, they move and shake the city without you even knowing that they are the ones moving and shaking the city. That's Aura for you. So we are so honored to have her here, and of course the beautiful smile that brings so radiant. Thank you, Aura, for being with us.
Thank you, Carlos, for such a warm intro. I really appreciate it. You and I have been in the trenches a couple of times, from Standing Rock to, to other things when I ran for city council too. And I feel the same about you. I feel like you do so much to move us forward. You've been so active with the urban partners. And there's so many of us out there that oftentimes don't get the glamour and the shiny and the sparkles and the media, but there's so many people that are doing great work, and you're one of them. So thank you so much for inviting me and sharing this Sunday morning with both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we should go ahead and get into the topics du jour. They've got a lot to talk about, I think. So now, Aura, you have a pretty extensive background in politics as well as environmental justice and working with immigrants. So you're very, widespread in the areas that you have worked in. You recently, I think you ran for city council. Is that correct?
Yeah, I ran for city council in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I ran in my area where I live in my community, District 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was an incredible experience. This is the year where we had also presidential elections. A lot of things were happening. We were in the middle of a pandemic. We are in the middle of a pandemic. So it was interesting to be part of this wave of more progressive leaders running for office and really trying to bring much needed change to our community. So in March of last year, when the primaries happened, and unfortunately I didn't get to the goal that I wanted, but I was able to ignite such an incredible support. And a lot of folks, like my voters, were people that voted for the first time, were people that have never voted before, were people that are registered to vote and didn't ever saw themselves voting because they didn't think it was for what, they didn't think it was worth it. So I feel very lucky that I was able to run and to have that experience and to elevate a few things that were happening in our city. The fact that we have a revolving door where elected officials come and go, trade seats with other elected officials, is still, we're struggling with the old boys club. And it's still difficult for women, especially women of color, that don't have institutionalized wealth or a network of friends that can help them get elected. It's so important to have the grassroots support. So I was very, very blessed and fortunate to be able to really galvanize and inspire a wave of people that never really saw themselves as part of our political process.
Yeah, thank you, Aura. I know that it's been rough for everybody. It's been really tough. We have politics on one side, we have the environment on another side,
Yeah.
climate change,
Mm-hmm.
we have police abuse issues here in Southern California. We have extreme poverty. The amount of people living in the streets.
Yeah.
We have crisis with housing, even though that there are moratoriums in place. We see abusive landlords, taking advantage of people that are not having been able to return to work, and pressure them in ways that people have no idea. There are some landlords out there that are brutal, but all those things, compile, and yet you still remain very focused. That's what's impressive, because that's what leaders are called to do in time of crisis, is to stand up and look beyond all those impossibilities. What is your secret, Aura? Because forward, nothing slows you down.
But so it's funny because right after the campaign ended in March 3rd of 2020, when we realized that we were not going to make the runoff, 10 days, not even a week later, we started the lockdown and the pandemic. So I was able to galvanize all of that support and start a mutual aid so that we could continue the energy and the leadership development and everything else, and really focus it on giving back and supporting our community. Because at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know how this was going to play out, really. Some people said it was going to take years. Some other people said it's nothing, so I think the secret for me is that this isn't nothing new. I grew up doing community work with my family back in Colombia, and this is something that I'm very serious about. I'm not just working with whether it is housing rights or the environment, or whether it is trying to find solutions for our unhoused community. It's not just something that I just started doing because I want to get elected for something. This is something that has been part of my career for so long, and I also serve as a commissioner for the Department of Water and Power in Los Angeles, the largest publicly owned utility in the country, $1 billion organization. And even there, when I was a decision maker, I kept organizing with people on the outside. We were able to retire 3 coastal gas plants. This is the reason why we have a Green New Deal now in Los Angeles. So this is something that is not new in my life, and is something that I find extremely rewarding. And I don't have pets, I don't have I don't have kids. I
But you,
can really dedicate time to to all this community work.
Yeah. Excuse me. Aura, what is your work? Thank you. As a commissioner for water and power, what are your duties as somebody who is a commissioner?
Great question. So commissioners for LA. So first, LADWP has 5 commissioners, and I don't serve as a commissioner anymore, but I love always speaking about how important they are. They get appointed by the mayor, so they kind of carry the mayor's agenda. And commissioners make all of decisions related to the Department of Water and Power. For example, where do we get our energy from? Is it from renewable sources or from fossil fuel? How many people we hire and who are they? Are they people of color? Are they women? They deal with contracts with the union. We have the largest electrical union in the country, local IBEW 18. They make decisions related to contracts. We have multi-million-dollar contracts that we have to for waste resources or improve our infrastructure. So that's what a commissioner does. So it's so important. And for many years, it was quite political. It still is. For me to get appointed was quite the anomaly. And I was the commissioner of the people, as some like to call me. And for me, it was always about how can we bring more equity to the department? How can we bring more renewables? I was a big supporter of I am a big supporter of getting LA to 100% renewable energy. And how that's going to look like, that is going to affect people like me, like working class people that oftentimes get the short straw every time. So how we make sure that even in these agencies, we have a way to make sure that the people that are most vulnerable and most affected by climate change get an opportunity to get some benefits.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you touch on some very good points. That just a prime example is what happened in Texas in the past couple of weeks, and who were the most affected? They were the most ignored people, the immigrants, people of color, losing power, freezing to death, and that having somebody like you in those roles is really important. Could you just talk just briefly, because I think we'd love to talk about a few other things, but we always like to encourage our viewers to get involved in politics, whether they run for office or as an organizer on the ground. How did you get appointed to this position?
That's a really good question. So, but before I go on how did you get appointed, you touch upon Texas, and I just want to maybe give people a little bit of an insight about what happened in Texas, because Texas is a deregulated energy market. In the United States, there are 3 regions. There are the East region, and the grid kind of works together. And the West region, all the grid works together, and Texas.
Oh my gosh!
So and a long time ago, they said we don't want to be regulated. We want to do our own thing. We got this, and look at what happened. El Paso is part of the West grid. And they didn't lose power.
Oh, wow.
So it's so sad that especially now with the freezing weather, they have to go through something like this. But for those of us that believe that we pay too much taxes or that regulation is bad, some of it is not. Some of it's unnecessary, but some of it really saves lives. I mean, every time, that we lose power, somebody dies. At least in California, in Los Angeles. So it's important to keep that in mind. I just wanted to mention that about Texas because you mentioned
Mhm.
that, and back to how do you get appointed to just any commission in Los Angeles? There are so many commissions that are important, that are influential, even planning commissions. Number one, get really involved with things that you do in your community. I was leading the campaign to get LA off of coal. So it wasn't hard for me to, to get there. And in fact, it felt like there was a great need of a voice like mine to be at the department, because usually the commissioners are rich people, lawyers, people that maybe it's a very prestigious position. So it doesn't, not often we have scientists, for example. This is something that I used to always say. Why don't we have a scientist as a commissioner? Why don't we have a an accountant? I mean, we deal with so much money issues in at DWP, and it's also about your relationships. Get to know other commissioners. Get to know the people that appoint people, and present your case. Don't be afraid to ask, which is something that I did. I went and I asked. I said, "This is this is the work that I have done, and and um and this is what I want to serve, and this will be the best place." So there's other ways in Los Angeles, like the neighborhood council. If you can run for your neighborhood council, you should totally do it. That's a great way to learn what's going on in your neighborhood, what's happening with land use. A lot of us, like, I'm a renter, and a lot of us are really alarmed by the cost of living and rent in Los Angeles. So making sure that all these land use, like when are building new things, are they affordable? Can you push for more affordable housing in your area? And that happens at the neighborhood council level. So this is how you do it. It's interesting because so many people call me when I was a commissioner to say if I could help them become commissioners. And I know, and I just wish that people will call me to say, I want to do more work for the community. Can you help me do that? And sometimes I get those phone calls too. But it's interesting with positions of power that actually the people that are working, like Carlos, like, I mean, I can name so many, Trinity, like I can name so many people doing work that oftentimes don't ask to be put in these leadership positions. And we need us in these leadership positions so that we can change things, and things can be more in our favor. Like recently, I ran for delegate for the Democratic Party. And I got elected a delegate, and I also got elected to the E-board, which is, I had the most votes out of all the delegates. So that gave me a spot on the executive board. And it was just, it's just so interesting. I want to see more of us out there, like in positions of power, so that we can really bring our ideals, our values to the work that we do.
Exactly. Wow. I mean, so many things that you're touching on right now. This is why,
Yes.
so thankful that you're here with us, because, we're talking about local politics. We're talking about what happened in Texas, but right now there's also an announcement that may be coming this week, as soon as this week. And that is that we may have a new um, Secretary of Interior,
Yes.
a Native American Congresswoman,
So exciting.
Deb Haaland.
So exciting. Yeah.
And this is the thing, we went to Standing Rock. You went to Standing Rock. I went to Standing Rock on multiple trips out there. We have been out there fighting for environmental justice and
Indigenous rights, fighting
exactly.
corporations. Yes.
And now we are at the brink of one of the biggest moments, perhaps in the history of the United States, when it comes to indigenous people. Because, and I gotta say this, because that's one good thing that Biden has done. A good step is naming a person like her, because again, this is someone that actually cares.
Yeah.
For the land.
Yeah.
Like you getting elected to positions of power, and let's understand that having a position of power doesn't mean, oh, look, I have a nice title. I don't.
Mhm.
You know, I'm really not concerned about titles. Is what
Not
you
at all.
once you are in power. You know. And what are your thoughts about a possible Madam Secretary of Interior?
It's so exciting because the Department of Interior is so important when it comes to environmental issues. Now she's not only a woman of color, she's an indigenous woman. I mean, it's incredible. It's historic. The what Biden is planning to do with her. Like, I am so excited. And I was in the Bernie camp. I think all of us were Bernie Sanders supporters, and I'm I'm often happily surprised to see the things that Biden team and Biden and has been doing. And I but again, that didn't happen just because we really organized. We had petitions out there. You remember this, Carlos? Like, we had petitions, we had graphics that we share on social media to try to get her attention, Biden's attention for her, so that she could be Secretary of Interior. I mean, who better than an indigenous woman or indigenous descent to lead our lands work? I mean, they're the original lands owner, and we have stolen everything from indigenous people in this country. That's just the reality, not just here, but in other countries too. Like, I'm Colombian, and like, the struggle of the indigenous rights is appalling. It's so sad to see how poorly we treat indigenous people when they were the original people that lived in these lands. So it's super exciting. Things like fracking, permits for fracking in public lands go through the Department of Interior. So that is super important, super important. Her position is going to be instrumental on the things that we're going to be able to do in the future. So absolutely, I support it, and I'm so excited. I think she did really well. The Republicans started to hate on her in some of the hearings that she had to go to be confirmed, but
Of
I think it's
course.
still she did really well.
Just to
Yeah.
follow up on that, because just to follow up on that a little bit, is the importance for us to stay focused on issues, because
Uh-huh.
you know we are Bernie Sanders supporters.
Uh-huh.
Of course, he's not sitting in power, Biden, and you can debate all that all day long. He doesn't change anything because he's still the president right now. But we have more people in Congress right now that represent us. You
Yeah,
know,
a little bit. A few of us are there
but
now.
there's more than the last cycle, and those are the things that we need to focus on and build on.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect world right now, especially with the Biden administration. You're going to have a little of everything, I think. But if we stay focused on the issues and we fight those issues, I think that we can get a lot more done.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we need to continue. We need to keep building the bench. We have to. We have to keep supporting people at all levels, because eventually it's going to be enough of us that are going to represent our values. So yes, focusing on the issues is important. I feel like even though Bernie didn't win, that he elevated so many issues. I mean, of course, Medicare for all, single payer, that was huge. 4 years ago, when Trump, got elected or in that race, we barely talked about Medicare for all or a Green New Deal. And this time around in 2020, everyone was forced to talk about it, whether they like it or not. There were mentions about the Green New Deal. There were mentions about income inequality, which is something that we've never really talked about. The power that the corporations hold. So I definitely see a big change. I also attribute that to technology. We have all of this stuff that now we can talk about different things. I can be in the moon right now, or in a whole other place, and and it's just really great to be able to share stories, narratives. I mean, if anything, this pandemic taught all of us is that we can still be connected through technology. We can get work done. I mean, people are campaigning right now without even coming like in contact with anybody, which when I ran, that was my bread and butter. I wanted to be with everybody. I wanted to hug everybody. And now it's all virtual hugs and virtual talks. And but the world, the show must go on, and our ideas need to continue because there are millions of people. I mean, we just found out that 500,000 people died from COVID in this country. How many of those people didn't have health insurance? And I'm not talking about just that. There's a lot of people that die due to due to health complications due to COVID. So if you had a shitty insurance, or if you didn't have an insurance, and if you couldn't prevent, like have preventive health, if you had COVID, it's just hard to recover. So all of these things, like all of these issues are interconnected. The fact that people that live around where there is more pollution are more prone to, when they get COVID, to be hit harder. Of course, because you're breathing poor air or drinking not so healthy water. So all of these stuff really are interconnected, and again, like focusing on the issues, because people, people deeply care about issues.
Right. Yeah. You touch on so many things at once, Aura. It's like, what do I pick out from everything you just said to focus on is so hard. But I'm seeing a lot of discussion amongst our viewers about Biden and the issues around the stimulus package. I was wondering if you would be okay with us maybe touching on that a little bit right now. Oh,
it's super important. I mean, this week alone, or this weekend, there were, feel like you already. Oh, am I back? Yes.
yeah.
It just passed. If I'm not mistaken, I was yesterday, for what I understand, they're being like negotiating, but we cannot just leave from stimulus to stimulus. What we need is to find a plan, and I think the Biden camp is trying to figure this out, where we can put people back to work, where we can improve our infrastructure, where we can can finally figure out this whole healthcare. And it sounds to me like a Green New Deal.
Hopefully, I'm always skeptical.
I hate to tell people, but it sounds like a Green New Deal.
Sorry. I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble getting your audio out. Carlos, are you okay with her?
I'm very clear, and it sounds like the Green New Deal.
Yeah,
all these things
sounds like the Green. I mean, putting people back to work, improving our infrastructure so that it's more sustainable. Creating ways where we can, revitalize our economy. It sounds like the Green New Deal to me, but people are still very resistant, and this is what happens after the first, like the recessions in the 20s. We have to come back with something really bold, and I hope that we have the courage this time to not only think about our economy, but think about our economy in a sustainable way.
Yeah, I agree, in a sustainable way. And I think I caught most of what you were saying there. It was really choppy for a moment from my connection, but yeah, I see elements of the Green New Deal. I know that Biden is uncomfortable with the phrase the Green New Deal. He doesn't like to say that. Spooky. But it is missing an important element, which is the guarantee of healthcare for all, which is part of the Green New Deal, and also a guarantee of strong union jobs.
Yeah,
green jobs. I mean, he's talked a little bit about that, but I recently was talking to my friend. His dad used to do a lot of work developing technology for oil companies, and he's sort of doing like a. Are you okay? Are you there, Aura? Oh, there you are. Yeah. So he used to develop a lot of technology for oil companies, and now he's sort of like trying to change course, and he's devoted his career, what's left of his career, to renewable energy sources and carbon capture sources. And oh man, I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought here. I think I'm just getting really distracted by the technology problems that we're having. But I think that, okay, my point is that there are a lot of ways in which we can solve climate change. And it's easy to say, yeah, we're going to create a lot of green jobs, but renewable energy jobs, but we have to also be sure that we do not create the same problems that we had before, which is that we don't look at the big picture of what we're doing and say that, what is the future of this technology? What are the effects going to be on the planet depending on that technology? And that's one of the things that concerns me a little bit about Biden and his administration, and that I think that they may want to do things that are popular or that make the environmental groups or the climate groups sort of, sound okay on the surface, but actually, could cause problems in the future. So Aura, I don't know if you're still with us. I don't see your video.
I'm here. I'm just trying to relocate.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So Aura, yes, we have all these things dealing with right now. We have a economic collapse of again the working class, because the amount of jobs that were lost, and people may not be able to get back to work. There are some ideas out there of that the Biden administration will put in place, and some of them may be cosmetic, some of them may be real. What is our job as grassroots, so that we can see some of these things being at least considered or implemented? What do we need to do as grassroots?
That's it. So I feel like you guys have two really good questions kind of smashed together. So of course, as grassroots, we always have to organize. That cannot stop. Issues change. We win different things. We lose different things. But the fact that we have a capitalist economy that is extractive, that is patriarchal, and that is just, it prolongs white supremacy, is something that is we need to really strive. This is like the overarching umbrella that we need to strive to change. So that's number one. So organizing, talking to neighbors, continue recruiting new folks to our movement, which is so important too. Like we oftentimes, like, I mean, for how long I know you, Carlos, and we've been on the trenches, like doing this. We need to mentor and again, like build the bench for all of the other new people that need to understand how important this is and understand and learn how to organize. So that's number one. Now, number two, on how do we are really sustainable, so we don't create sustainability issues that in the future are going to be another problem. So in 20 years, we're going to find ourselves with other problems because, we have, sustainability issues. And the beauty of what's happening today is that we have so much technology. We are interconnected so that we can learn best practices from other places that have done already sustainable things that maybe we haven't yet. The fact that we don't conserve and preserve water and at a rate, so like a storm water capturing, for example. So when it rains, we can like take all that water, especially in Southern California, that doesn't rain a whole lot and that we don't have a lot of resources for water, is something that we need to be doing right now. And for many years, it's been done in places like, for example, Israel and the Middle East, where they don't have a lot of water because, it's the desert. So we can definitely alleviate those things. We need to build a pipeline of organizers, future organizers. We need to make our issues also relevant to other people that might not see themselves in these issues. Healthcare, for example. I have a very good friend of mine that is actually very wealthy, so he doesn't have a problem paying for healthcare. His problem is that he was born with a pre-existing condition, so a lot of the health insurances don't want to take him or his money. So this is why universal healthcare, single payer, Medicare for all is so important, is so important, and in the long run it's really going to help our community more than us not being insured and having to rely on good healthcare in the future.
Yep, I agree. We have to rely on good healthcare for the future. So I really want to talk about the stimulus package, though. So can we talk about this, Carlos, please? Because it's a very popular topic, and
I mean, did you guys think 1,400 is enough? How do you guys feel about this new stimulus money?
Well, this is the thing. This is what I think. We got to look at what has been done. We got to look back a little bit to understand where we at right now. People were living in poverty already. They were struggling prior to the pandemic. You know, the prosperity that Donald Trump talked about was not real prosperity for the working class. It was a prosperity of the rich, the people that had already. They were amounting to even bigger bigger wealth. So enter the pandemic, and we had one of the poorest and catastrophic failures by a presidential person, Donald Trump, in responding to the pandemic. Horrific. You know, he downplayed everything. He ignored everything. Then they had some stimulus that came in, and the people that really got a lot of the money was corporations. It was the rich. It was the connected people. And the mom and pops, small businesses, and all this, and the working class families, they got literally pennies, crumbs. That's what we got. And I say some people were lucky to get that. The first amount that they gave us, or they gave some people. Millions of people are yet to receive a single penny because there were a specific criteria of who was going to get that money. So not everybody got that money. So let's get that clear. So the people that didn't qualify, which was mainly the poor, got even poorer. They were pushed into extreme poverty. Now, months later, with a new president, just before we got the new president sworn in, we got a little more money, just a few $100s more. And that was it. Now we have entered the Biden administration. He ran and he promised $2,000, and now he downplays it to $1,400. So this is the key, though, that I need people to see. This is what I'm looking at. $1,400 sounds like a lot of money, and it's not. It's not. Really,
it's not. You
people
can't even pay rent. I cannot pay my rent with $1,400 myself, personally.
Now, what is important here is that, let's say that we get that money, $1,400. That's most likely the end of any kind of stimulus that people may get, because it took them this long to get that. And we may see, when he's going to, there's no discussion for another one. They're having a hard time passing this. I know the Senate is not, this is yesterday, last week there was a vote, and it went party line, the votes.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we have to look at. So any kind of stimulus is welcome, but it's not enough.
No. Not enough. This is why I keep saying we cannot. It's unsustainable for our economy to just survive over a stimulus. We need a radical change of all sides and all fronts. We need to, again, invest in our infrastructure so we can put people back to work. We need to get a handle of the pandemic. That's just the number one. Because if every week is going to be open the restaurants, close the restaurants, too many people sick, not enough beds. Okay, now we're good. Now we don't have enough vaccines. Like we can't continue like this. It's affecting people's mental health. Everyday people mental health. So that's number one. We need to get a handle of whether it's the vaccination or whether it's getting tested or whether it's staying home. We need to figure out how to really control put the pandemic to some sort of rest. And then all the people, I mean, we need to figure it out. Rent prices, because there are people that have not been able to pay their rent since the beginning of the pandemic last year in March. And if we don't cancel the rent, or if we don't have some sort of, whatever name you want to give it, all of these people have to pay retroactively the rent. Tell me how much money a working class person that hasn't been working for almost a year, that owns not just that, food, transportation, healthcare. Tell me how they're ever gonna get ahead after the pandemic is under control, because they own all that money. So at the end of the day, working class people actually owe more money because they have to pay retroactively. So it's almost like their rent got pushed by like 25-50%. The other thing that I don't understand, and again, back to the healthcare for all, is that people in unemployment, if you're getting unemployment, you cannot get Medicaid. You can't, because then you'll be making too much money. What's going on in the world? Like, that makes no sense. That you are like surviving with like a 400, 300, whatever money a week. And then you need to, and then your insurance, the cheapest insurance that you can find in Los Angeles, Oscar, is about $250 a month. That's half of your income, or half of your EDD, your your stimulus or your unemployment. So we have a lot of things that are not really working, and 1,400 is just not enough. So that's why, like, people that have been struggling with the pandemic and lost their job, and families and kids that have not been able to go to school because they don't have computers, because they don't have internet. So they're like using their parents' phones to do it. We need to really look at these things and transform. What we need is a transformative way to deal with our economy. Not just these little patches of like, let me give you 2,000, let me give you 300, because that's not enough. And what we need is to figure out how we're going to put people back to work, how we're going to support small businesses again, get on their feet. In Los Angeles is ghost town, because a lot of people are leaving because it's too expensive to live here. And if they can work remotely, they're gone to other states where it's cheaper. So it's an exodus of people leaving California. So we need to figure out how we can make California not just for the rich, but for everyone, so that we can all thrive.
I know that you're going to have to be leaving soon, but we're trying to get as much as we can here. Going back to, because it's really important, Meja. I can see if 1,400 a month will be coming in. That would be something,
That would be ideal.
I always hear the pushback. Well, the debt. Well, we are the ones that pay the debt. Is the working class, and the more that we are able to put in the hands of people, they will turn around and buy things right away. Spend the money. It's not like the rich, when they get any kind of stimulus for themselves, is they go and buy bigger companies, make themselves fatter. But in the case of the working class, we need something that is going to be able to sustain people, month to month, not, give them something right now, put a Band-Aid, and then you still have a big, wound that is bleeding, because it's not going to solve something. So yes, there is some dangerous months ahead, because we don't know what's going to happen with housing, have that thing. And people right now are extremely debt because of no health care.
Yeah.
And of course, the student debt that they are suggesting to wipe out, at least it's a tiny portion of it.
It helps. Yeah.
It helps, but it's not enough. We need, like you say, something bold when it comes to student debt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, this was a conversation that was elevated around the presidential election. And I don't think Biden is going to be the person that is going to cancel debt for student debt, but I feel like we're getting closer. I also think that there is an angle of this that is not equitable, because if I'm the daughter of a wealthy rich person, I mean, and then there's an equity piece in there that is unsettling. So yes, we should cancel rent, but debt, but we should cancel debt for people that are really in the bottom of the list, because I wouldn't want my tax money to go for like Trump's kids, like not paying their debt, like they need to that. So what I'm trying to say is that we need solutions, but not all solutions fit all. Not the same shoe is going to be for all the Cinderellas. Like, it doesn't work that way. We need council debt for people that are low income, that are struggling, that have that can barely make it all work. Paying rent, for food, for student loans, for healthcare. A lot of our young people are entrepreneurs. They're starting their own business. It's exciting. They're starting their own thing, but they have to pay for all these things because they don't work for like a corporation or a company or anything like that, or for even the governmental sector. Which I also, before I go, I want to just touch upon that there has been massive cuts, at least in Los Angeles, because they don't have any money. And very soon we're not going to see the same street sweeping because they don't have money to pay for it. So there's a lot of details around this. The stimulus money is one thing, but what I want to see is a new deal type of legislation that is going to like change radically the way that things are. And we need to really look at our healthcare system, because that's what actually got us here. Yes, the pandemic and COVID-19 has been devastating, but it's been more devastating that we don't have enough space for people if we have a massive catastrophe and everybody gets sick. We just don't have, we have never even planned for this. So the pandemic really have lifted a lot of realities that we need to deal with right now.
Wow.
Thank you, Aura. I think it's been 10 minutes.
So much more to say.
Oh, we need to have you back one time,
I would love that. I would love to come back. There's a lot of topics out there that are emerging. We didn't talk about that in a lot of the stimulus money. They sneak a lot of other stuff in, like aid for other countries. What is a stimulus money for us has anything to do with sending money to like the Middle East? So these are the things that when you start reading the stimulus package, then you see like, is this really like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, part of that is because there's so much gridlock in Congress that this is literally the only piece of legislation that they will be able to pass. So they kind of have to do this giant piece of legislation to get other pieces of legislation that they want passed, which is only contributes to the evidence that Congress is extremely dysfunctional. And Aura, you said so many great things. I hope that you will run again for office, because currently the people that we have in office here in California and across the country, it seems, are completely inept and unable to do the things that you're talking about. So it would be great to have you win one of those races soon and have you there and make those changes that you're talking about, because if it's not you, I don't know who it's going to be, but it will definitely not be the people currently in office right now. So thank you so much for being with us today.
I really appreciate it. And this is, again, another point where the grassroots can really be instrumental. This is our time to organize. This is our time to support other amazing candidates. This is the time to ask questions and say, how can I help? What can we do together? This is really the time to do that.
I'm going to say before you leave is next time you run, I need you to consider me to be your campaign manager, because I want
That would be very fantastic.
Absolutely.
I don't offer that to anybody, but you, I think, we learned a lot of things from your campaign the last time. Mm-hmm. And if you ever run again, I want you to give me a call. And
Absolutely. You're
definitely,
definitely part of the kitchen cabinet, as they like to call it.
yeah, we're gonna keep it going. Keep it going. Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys so much. I will, you know where to find me on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm always out there. If you ever want to get involved, just let me know. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope to see you guys again on the show pretty soon.
Thank you, Aura. Thank you. Have a really great Sunday. Thank you for being with us
Bye.
today. Bye.
Bye.
Right. Wow,
All
what
right.
an amazing person Aura is. And look, we facing very serious issues all the way around. It hasn't gone away. A lot of the stuff, some things make it worse, some things make it better. We are seeing a turn, I think, when it comes to COVID-19 because of the vaccinations. I think that more things may be opening. Hopefully, uh, you know, things will settle down for a lot of people. But it is troublesome that there are some people that continue to push their ignorance and are very abusive in so many different ways when it comes to COVID-19. Not respecting people's space and demanding certain things to be open when in fact we may be still in a major crisis in some parts of the state, and some people don't care about others. They just want theirs, and that's it. And that's unfortunate because all of us end up paying the price for that when we are putting these kind of demands. I understand no one wants to see everything closed. I want to see everything open, but it will have to be done everything responsibly. And I think those are the things that we need to be paying attention to moving forward, because there's going to be a change, a shift because of the vaccinations.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you're right about there's a shift, but there's also, again, I mean, which you just touched on, but even here in California, there's seems to be a push to reopen schools before the teachers have been fully vaccinated. And just quickly, would like to say hello to Yunsuk Kim, who said good morning to us, and to all of our viewers who have been making comments. Thank you very much. But yeah, so Newsom, he's worried about this recall, and as a result, he's trying to push for a reopening of the schools because he thinks that's how he's going to survive a recall. And I think it was also politically motivated, this coming out of the shelter-in-place order in January, because of a lot of the bad or negative news that has been coming out against Newsom and the drop in his popularity. So yeah, for me, there's a lot of concerns, but of course there is a light at the end of the tunnel for the pandemic, like you're saying, especially with the vaccines, and they will likely get us toward herd immunity. But this has come at a very severe price, a loss of life. Sure, the official total is 500,000 people, but we know that is not. We're not very good at counting here in this country, so quite certain that the numbers are much higher than that. So, and also, this was a really great discussion, Carlos. I think that you and Aura are a little more kinder to Biden than I am. I really am already completely disappointed. I mean, he's certainly they've done some good things, but there's a lot of things that leave me much to desire with the way the administration is working, and I really want them to prove me wrong, and so far I'm not really being proven wrong.
Let me say this. Especially for our viewers, our supporters. I want to make this very clear. I am not a fan of Joe Biden, and I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris. I'm not. I have made that very clear. However, I have to take 2 steps back. I have to look at everything, at the big picture. I have to look at the suffering of the people. I have to look at uh, the state that we're in regarding uh, climate change, regarding healthcare, regarding all these issues that have piled up on the people. And obviously, he's a different from from Trump. He is exactly the same way as Obama was. I was not a supporter of Obama. I did support him on his first run, and I campaigned for him. But then, months into his presidency, on his first run, he totally disappointed me because he sided with Wall Street and he started bringing all the Wall Street people. Biden was forced in a way to accept certain progressives' voice to make some commitments for change, which included, you know, uh, giving more voice to the Bernie Sanders, to that kind of mentality of including everyone, and addressing poverty in ways that the Obama campaign or the Trump campaign didn't do. So I'm cautiously watching everything he does, and he has disappointed me in many ways already, but not to the point that I'm throwing the towel and say, you know, uh, screw all this and let's get rebellious now. I think that what makes a difference right now is because we have people in office that are very, very strong progressives and are giving voice to these issues. So right now, I think that we have to be smarter, recognize the work that is being done in the inside by those people that are in the inside, but also continue the pressure from the outside. So earlier I mentioned the Secretary of Interior that may be sworn in, that may be actually confirmed. We got to give credit where credit is due. Now, having her in that position may change something. It's not going to guarantee that it's going to change everything because she has to still push for Biden's agenda. But I think that she will add a strong voice to be able to advocate for for the environment issues that relates to the Department of Interior. So that's what I'm talking about: recognizing, identifying, separating, and calling out the Biden administration where he needs to be called out. You know, example, the stimulus. I think is an insult because clearly we know that the working class are struggling, and yes, he's going to give $1,400, but it's not enough, for crying out loud. If you say that you're going to represent the people, by all means, represent the people. Don't half step about it. Do it boldly. I don't think he's got what it takes to do it boldly, but I think that there's enough people around him now that can convince him to take certain steps that may actually be beneficial for the working class. That's where I'm at. Again, I'm not a fan of them, but I am supportive of anything good that comes out that will benefit the people.
Yeah, I worry that that Biden is not going to do enough for people, and we are really not in an FDR administration, but a Hoover administration, and that is what concerns me, that we're not where we need to be in terms of our action. And Aura touched on that we need transformative change, and she's absolutely right. But this administration so far has not shown it's able to do transformative change. It has not taken transformative actions, even with the pandemic so far. And I'm being a little bit of a gadfly here, because I think that we, as much as we want to be optimistic and need to be optimistic and to find the positives, it is also important to be real about what we do have in front of us right now and what the dangers are going forward with this administration. Because with the pandemic right now, what have we seen so far? We're seeing a very slow up ramp in the vaccinations going on. For the most part, even in the Democratic state like California, it's been largely dysfunctional. I mean, outside of this country, in places that, like Turkey, for example, they're doing a better job vaccinating people. Like their teachers, for example, the country has said, okay, we're going to send the kids back in person, but we're going to vaccinate all the teachers and their family members. Right? I mean, that of course makes perfect sense. But we're not doing things like that here. We're so behind in vaccinating people, and we are a rich country. I'm seeing things that really bother me about, and not even just the Biden administration, but overall across the country. It's this, what is this dysfunction? This is something deeper than just one person in office in the White House. There's this disease that is spread throughout the country and is hitting every office, and it's not the coronavirus, but it's political ineptitude and I don't know, like this complete disregard for the people of this country. Now even the Democrats are struggling with that. Look at Cuomo, the governor of New York. Scandal, absolute scandal with the senior care homes, hiding the number of deaths to protect his donors who run these home health centers for senior citizens, for people who cannot live at home and cannot be in a hospital, but need a 24-hour medical care. I mean, that was a Democrat who did that, right? Who covered that up because these companies donate to him, and these companies for a long time have had problems with just cutting corners to increase their profits and at the detriment of the patients who live in their homes. So I'm seeing much more, and I really want to get this big picture out there, because even though we're looking at this right now and we're saying, like, let's be patient, let's watch what he does, and I agree, let's see how this pans out, but we have a much bigger problem than Joe Biden. And my concern here, Carlos, and for our viewers, is that what is going to happen after these 4 years, because we still have a part of our population that is extremely disaffected, that is extremely negative and skeptical of government, that feels completely alienated. And these people are angry, and they're getting a lot of bad information, and they're already acting on it. And just because Trump is not in office doesn't mean that they are going to do something about their feelings and about what they see as an injustice to them. So I'm these are my worries these days. I'm seeing these things, and I'm not seeing what I think needs to be done to quell a lot of these problems.
Well, you are 100% correct. I mean, the Biden administration coming in needed to separate themselves from the bad policies that have been in place. He needed to be bold. I mean, come in, with bold ideas, separate yourself completely. But they've been playing too much to the center. And this is, I think, where the worry becomes a reality, that we have corporate Democrats trying to run the country when on all ideas that don't work. They don't work. We need extreme bold ideas. See, this is something that I've been saying since the beginning of the pandemic, and people have been saying this actually, is what are we going to have to show for after the pandemic? Can we say we brought in healthcare for all? Can we say this and this programs were in place that millions of people could benefit for decades to come because out of the pandemic? At least we took advantage to bring something about that will benefit millions of people, the entire country. We don't have that. All we have is a whole bunch of band-aids everywhere. And that's the concern. That's the concern you have when he talks about canceling a small part of the student debt. That's not bold. Those are band-aids. Those are just to pacify groups of people, but he's not really doing, the work that needs to be done. So I think that moving forward, we continue to watch, we continue to organize, we continue to pay attention to these things and organize from that end. Again, there is a big push here in California to recall Governor Newsom. What's going to happen, we don't know. If he's not bold, if he doesn't take bold steps, he's going to get recalled. And we may end up with a Republican again, another Reagan. What is going to happen, we don't know. One thing for sure is that they have not proven themselves to be the type of leaders that we need right now. We need bold leaders. Enough with the band-aids. Enough with the band-aids.
Yeah, we need bold leaders. So please, all of those bold viewers that are watching, please run for office so that you can be one of those bold leaders, because you're the type of person that we need in office, not someone like Gavin Newsom who's shiny and, wears nice clothes and puts gel in his hair. We need somebody who is serious and who understands what it is to be from the working class, the 99%, who understands the needs of their neighbors and their community. That's the type of person we need in office. So I cannot say this enough. Please, if you're watching and you've never, even if you've never thought about running, you should think about it. You can run for local office. There's an organization actually called Run for Something, and if you just search Run for Something, they have tons of resources, and they're all free. The resources are free. They do have a focus on people who are 40 years and under, because this is a segment of the population that is extremely underrepresented in politics and in political office. But the resources are there for anybody who wants them. And their main focus is on city council and state legislature, all of the local offices, community boards. They have all sorts of information on how you can run for office. And I listened in on one of their talks recently, and they have a lot of funding actually through the Democratic Party. So they do ask that you check mark something that I support whatever values of the Democratic Party, so that they can that's like if they can endorse you, that's one of their requirements. But besides that, I mean, they have so many resources. So the resources are out there. They're free. You don't have to pay for them. Just go look, Run for Something. That's the website, and find out what you can run for. Really, you just run for whatever issue bothers you in your community. That's their message. Like maybe, like Aura was saying about trash pickup, because they're cutting the budget in LA. I mean, you could run for a local neighborhood council or something, and that could be one of your issues. Maybe it's something related to transgender bathrooms in your public schools in your neighborhood. You could run for the school board that includes that school. These are the types of things that we're talking about when we say run for office, run for something. Literally, there's hundreds of offices that you can do, and that you can also maintain your current lifestyle while also participating in the decision making. Because a lot of the people who do this, who go into these positions, are people with big egos, who, again, like Aura and Carlos were talking about before, are people who are just very interested in power. And the people that we would love to see running for office, like people like Carlos and Aura, don't, because they're not thinking about their egos, they're thinking about the community. But you, as a member of the community, you should fill those offices. So yeah. I just try to drive that home every show.
The main thing is people need to get involved, get involved with there's hundreds of community organizations that are doing good work. Here in Southern California, I mean, there's tons of activism taking place all the time. Start there, get involved, participate, meet people, all of a sudden you're going to start finding out that the things that you think about, other people are thinking about it too. and the things that you care about, there's a whole bunch of people that care about that too. And then you learn to, you start having those conversations, and then you start planning from there. That's what grassroots organizing is. All of a sudden says, hey, you know, we see a lot of trash on this street, on the main street. Let's all get together and create an event, and we all come and clean up. You know what I mean? That's taking power back,
That's right.
because not only you shaming elected officials for not doing what they're supposed to be doing, but now you're building a base of support. That's your base. That's your group. That's where you belong. That's your community. And we win when the community comes together, when we participate, when we unite, when we push with both hands, all of us at the same time. That's how we win. So organizing and becoming involved and taking power back, it starts at the lowest levels. That's the strength of any kind of movement that brings victory, is when they organize at the bottom level first. You know, then we could start thinking about, from those groups, there are people that obviously will stand out, you know, and we have to try to work with them, especially if they have ideas, great ideas, to start implementing policies at a bigger level, or even running for office, because now they have policies that they want to push, and if elected to those offices, they can actually implement those ideas. So that's how the grassroots movement supposed to be working, and the things that we can do to grow our base and bring change about. But I was excited today because we had a great guest, Margaret.
Yeah, absolutely. She's so very well informed in a lot of areas too, and she's very deeply involved in her community through organizing, and she's just got a great future. So I really hope to see more of her.
Yeah, so hopefully the people that just coming in late, they see the broadcast from the beginning. A good conversation with Aura Vasquez, one of our local organizers and community leaders here in Southern California. Tremendous voice for the people. So I'm excited because next weekend we are going to have some special guests. We're going to be public banking. We are
Oh yeah.
the founder of Public Banking Institute, Ellen Brown. We're going to have
Hmm.
of the board with us to discuss on public banking and the movement to bring that change into the banking system that has controlled our governments and taken out by their greed in so many ways wealth away from the people. So we are going to talk about public banking next weekend.
Yep, that sounds like a really good topic. Very important topic because obviously banking and the financial industry is not within the hands of the 99% these days. So yeah, fantastic, Carlos. Well, I think we should wrap up because we're actually 12 minutes past the hour here on our show. But it's been a lot of fun talking with you and Aura today, and being here with all of our viewers. Carlos, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Well, I wanna thank everyone for their support, for the continued support. You know, it is through people like you that we can get a lot of stuff done. You know, that we are involved in bringing different projects about. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. A lot of people that work behind the scenes that you will never see them in the cameras, but that are doing tremendous work everywhere. So I love and respect to you, to all the volunteers that make things happen. That's how we win, all of us together. Then thank you, me personally, uh, to our community leaders that continue to do great work out there.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Carlos, for all of your hard work. And of course, as you know, everyone, we come to the end of the show. We air every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on the Bernie Sanders Brigade page, and we simulcast on a few other pages and on YouTube. So please join us next week at 10 a.m. That's Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time for another show of Stand Up, Fight Back. So we will see you then. Please, everyone, Stay safe, stay healthy, wear a mask, get vaccinated, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.